What's Brady Chaney's status for tomorrow's game?
He's he'll be able to play.
Okay, he's good to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Jonathan Deutsch from the American Cancer Society. Jonathan, do you have a question for Coach?
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Coach, just wanted to ask why it's so important for you. I know you've done this a couple times now, participated in Suits and Sneakers. Why it's such an important initiative for you and your staff to be part of?
Well, actually, I've done this dozens of times. I think all coaches, all of us are humble when it comes to doing anything that's bigger than who we are. You know, we've got a lot of great guys on this call that have families and friends that have been affected by cancer. That's probably the thread that binds us all, is how this deadly disease has affected us in one form or another. I know I've had friends, I've had family, aunts, my mother have all been taken by this. And I think that's why there's so many coaches. And the unsung heroes is the people that aren't getting broadcasted for helping. You know, you almost feel guilty about saying what I'm doing. I'm doing nothing compared to what most others are doing. I'm just appreciative of the opportunity to talk about it, but I'm just a voice. You know, it's this cancer doesn't go away. You know, Suits and Sneakers, the screening, cancer screening initiative, setting the screen initiative that we're doing through Coaches versus Cancer. All those things are important, but it's like donating. You donate based on how much you have or your willingness to give. And if you don't have money, then make sure your families are getting screened. And make sure that the people that you love and care most about are getting a physical every year before it's too late. You know, before things can metastasize, you know, there's got to be some negligence sometimes that we wait too long. But that's why we want to encourage people to go get screened. You know, go see your doctor, get a checkup. And as you get older, and I'm talking to males about prostate cancer. My best friend from North Carolina's daughter just went through breast cancer and chemotherapy. You know, and she's just fresh out of law school. So there's a lot of stories. You know, I'm very humbled to be able to talk about it, but I'm talking about it on behalf of so many others that have gone through this terrible disease. Dick Vitale has been the face of college basketball for a long time, and what he does with the Jim Valvano fundraiser, what Lon Kruger does with his initiatives, the golf tournament he has, and suits with the Coaches versus Cancer programs. There's a lot of warriors out there on the front lines that are fighting, and I'm just a soldier in the Army.
Thank you, Jonathan. We'll go to Mark Berman, Fox 26. Mark, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Kelvin. How relevant, as far as your game prep for Cincinnati, is the game y'all played against them January 8th, where y'all won there? How relevant is that, or is it apples and oranges since it's 3 weeks later?
No, it's relevant because you look at what did they hurt us with? Because whatever they hurt us with, their coaches are watching tape too, so they're going to try to do some of those same things. So what can we do better? You know, how did we hurt them, and how might they take some of that stuff away? And then you look at the games since then. You know, the only thing different is you don't have to go back to the start of the season. You do have a game. You're not spending, you know, an hour over the course of 3 or 4 days talking about personnel. You know, they've been off since last Sunday. I think they played last Sunday at home against Memphis. So the next game is Saturday against us, whereas we played Sunday, Wednesday, and now we have a quick turnaround for tomorrow. But it's your next game. There's no excuses for anything. That we have a game at 1:15 tomorrow afternoon. We're gonna get our guys prepared as good as we can and go play.
We go to Josh Criswell from Cron. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Coach. Just heading into the last month of the season, not looking ahead, but just in terms of daily progress, what are kind of some of the things that you're looking for from your team to, I guess, gauge how ready they are to, make a run, kind of just some of the day-to-day stuff you guys can do along the way?
Well, as far as making a run, nothing, because I focus on what's in front of me. You're talking about something ahead of me. I don't ever do that. What's in front of us is making sure our freshmen, in years past, we've always had veterans coming off the bench. We're guys that had played a lot. For instance, I think our first Sweet 16, our first two guards off the bench were Dejan Giroux and Nate Hinton. Whereas this year it's Emmanuel Sharp and Terrence Arsenault. We were starting 5 veterans on that team. The Final Four team was all veterans. We had Tremont Mark coming off the bench. Last year it was Ramon. So your team's always changing. Decipher it as you will, but we've lost 4 starters every year for almost 5 years. We're always having to change our personnel. So you're never comfortable or settled. This is all new to them. If we had everybody back from last year, we would be approaching this time of the year maybe a little differently. But it's a long season for those freshmen. We're monitoring a lot of things with them. In the old days, you didn't start working with your kids until right before or right after Labor Day. But now you start in June. So you've got to be a little strategic, a little judicious on your workload. Obviously, the last 5 years, we've had a lot of experience with this. So there's a lot of things you have to do. We had a 100-mile-an-hour headwind the other night coming back from Orlando. What was supposed to be a 2-hour flight wound up being almost a 3.5-hour flight. So I don't think we got back to the facility, the Guy V. Lewis Development Center. I can't remember what time. It was really, really late. And then it was a quick turnaround. Next thing you know, it's Thursday. So you got to be real smart. What are you going to do on Thursday? Marcus is nicked up. Jamon's nicked up. Jaywan's nicked up. We've got a lot of nicking up that we've got to monitor. So this time of year is a grind for everybody. We're in it. We're in it now. It's not November or December. The longest month for college basketball is always January. January is a long, tough month for everybody. So we're just going to do the best we can with getting our kids ready to have a good practice today, and hopefully we play well tomorrow. That's it.
Thank you, Josh. We'll go to Matt Musil from KHOU. Matt, go ahead, please, sir.
Hey, Kelvin, I'm just wondering about your thoughts on this rivalry with you and Cincinnati. Some U of H fans may not get excited about some of your opponents, but they always know they're all in for Cincinnati. I'd just like your thoughts as you're leaving the American Conference, this rivalry with Cincinnati through the years. It's been a great one.
Yeah, it has. And, you go all the way back to pre-Bob Huggins, but most of the college basketball generation will remember what a great job Bob did there. And then Mick was awesome. And now with Wes, and Cincinnati's a great brand. When I first came into the league in 2014-15 season, Connecticut was coming off a national championship. So they were the flavor of the month, and rightfully so. They were the national champions. But the bell cow for this conference to me has always been Cincinnati. You know, they have a basketball name. You know, one of my favorite players of all time was Oscar Robertson. You know, I didn't think he'd get any better than the Big O. And I still get a thrill, and I've been able to spend some one-on-one time with him over the years. But I still get a thrill when I see him at Cincinnati games. When I think of Cincinnati Bearcats, I always think of what's good for college, what's good about college basketball. They have knowledgeable fans. They've got the name Cincinnati, and they've been consistently good. You know, the problem with being consistently good is you get held hostage by your success. You know, over time there becomes less appreciation for how you've done it to like what's the next trick. And it's hard to win a game in college basketball for anybody, especially in conference play. Conference play is a different animal than non-conference. Conference, everybody knows you. They spend all day scouting you. You know, you're not somebody's third game in 6 days. It's just another bye game or something. You know, conference is just a different animal. But I've always had tremendous respect for Cincinnati basketball, even before I started coaching against them. I always thought they were one of the great basketball programs in our country.
Thank you, Matt. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Kelvin, wanted to see if I could go back to something you said after the game the other night, and I don't know if it falls under the why is the world round and not flat, but you mentioned about not the team maybe not playing as well at home. And can you put any finger on, I mean, you've only lost 2, but is there a common denominator or anything that you've seen of why maybe the team, even in some of the close games, is it just the level of competition, or can you put your finger on it at home?
No, I mean, it's a legitimate question. But no, I mean, college basketball is different today. I think I remember in the not too distant future, the biggest distraction was girls. I always thought that was the number one distraction. And maybe not necessarily in a good way, but you guys are males. Remember how you felt about girls when you were in college? That's a big part of your day. Although the looks of some of you guys, I'm not sure how important that was. But now you think about all the distractions that college coaches in any sport have to go through. Social media, agents. The phone has become the most important thing in most of their lives, and everything that goes on with the phone. Marketing, NIL. So sometimes as coaches, we have to ask, where are we on the priority list? And where does basketball stack up? When we're on the road and we almost have them secluded. It's 24/7 us. For instance, the other day, we're coming off a disappointing performance. And that's to take nothing away from Coach Aaron McKee and his bunch. I mean, you get beat, you get beat. I'm not going to resign because we lost. You just go to the next game, man. You're going to get beat. Who are we? Sometimes I think at home, you're playing against some distractions. We're on the road. You're focused more on shoot around, practice the night before. Like I just go on our recent one. They're all the same. But we got to Orlando probably about 3 or 4 o'clock. We had a meal. Then they had to get taped. Then we go right into film, and all we're talking about is how we're going to defend this action. Here's how we're going to attack this. So you just go through your scouting report a little bit. Then you go right to the gym and you practice. Then you come home. Then you come back to the hotel. And then before they go to bed, you have another film session. Then they go right to bed. Then you get up the next morning. You have another team meal. We had a long day the other day. So we had a academic session, study hall, if you will, getting caught up on our assignments. And then we go right to another shoot around. Then you have pregame meal, you go to the gym. So it's wall to wall, focus on the opponent. Whereas you come home in today's world, it's all different. You know, there's so many distractions out there at home. Think about all the guys pulling at them. And sometimes you can lose sight of what's most important, more so at home than on the road. So, you know, we've been thinking about and talking about as a staff, throwing ideas around what we can do different. But, you know, I don't have all the answers. So hopefully we come out tomorrow and play a little better than we did the last time.
So I take it having 3 or 4 on the road isn't necessarily a bad thing then?
I never look at anything like that, Joseph. I mean, I can tell you're thinking about that, but I don't care about any of that. I'd rather play, but if you're asking me, I'd rather have 3 out of 4 at home.
Gotcha.
We'll go to Greg Bailey with KTRK. Go ahead, Greg, with your question for Coach.
Kelvin, good morning. You're running through some of the difficulties of this time of the year, some of the things that come with it, travel, injuries. Why is your team, maybe particularly some of your young players, why are you so good at battling through that adversity?
Well, you know, we started in June with these young kids, you know, and we try to do things the right way. You know, the foundation of our program has always been discipline. You know, but, you know, think about the world we're living in. You know, we're 20-2, and almost every question that I'm answering has a negative tone to it. Like, why don't you play well at home, or the free throw shoot, whatever. But that's kind of the way the world is today. And I'm probably a little bit like that too. You know, we have a tendency to try to figure out what's wrong with something rather than what's right with it. I think that has a lot to do with our culture. You know, people see me getting upset on the sidelines or something, they think that that's a negative. That's not a negative at all. Because what they don't see is what they don't see. And you don't know what you don't know. There's a reason why our teams are so tight, have such great chemistry. It's because we're a family. And I think when you're a family, you look out for each other. So when we go on the road, or we're playing at home, or we're practicing, we don't turn that button. We don't turn that button off. You know, that thing's always on. Our culture lives with us. We've created this. I've had it at every school that I've coached at. You know, we were the same way wherever. So, but here at Houston, one of the things that really helps is having Hollis and Quantas and Kellen. That really helps. You know, I get asked so many times by former Houston high school kids that went to play at other college to help them get started with their coaching careers. And I wish them well, but there's a value in having your family members being a huge part of your program. You know, somebody asked me about hiring a recruiter. I don't hire recruiters. You know, you develop that. You know, I remember the first time I recruited, nobody told me how to do it. There's certain things you can't be taught. You have to fail. You know, failure is a big part of everything you do. You learn from that. You know, it's like the Alabama game and the Temple game. I'm not ashamed of those games. You know, look how much better offensively we were against UCF than we were Temple. You learn from them. You know, whoever, I don't, does anybody know? Somebody look up how many losses Kansas had last year. They were the #1 team in the country. I'm assuming they lost a game here or there along the way. We all do. The problem is we live in a society that overreacts to everything. It's a good thing coaches don't.
We'll go back to, we got time for a couple more questions. We'll go back to Josh Criswell from Cron. Go ahead, Josh.
Just kind of on a lighter note, it seems like during COVID, suits kind of went by the wayside for the polos and quarter zips and things like that. Just curious, do you have anything in particular planned out for Saturday?
You know, for years and years, I should say decades, but that would age me. Although if you look at my face, I don't need to tell you about my age. I'm old and ugly enough, but you know, I just always wore a suit. You know, I always wore a suit and a tie, and I think I did it. My dad did. You know, he couldn't afford a suit, so he just had pants and a shirt and a tie and a jacket. He wore that every game for 30-some years he coached. And I did the same thing. I just thought that was how you respected the game. And I felt a little funny during COVID not wearing a coat and tie. I felt naked, not naked, but you guys know what I'm saying. I felt funny because all those years I did. But it's it's a lot more convenient. I can tell you that. You know, I have my game day routine, and I don't have to plug in as much time to get ready now. You just basically putting on what I practice in, other than a polo. I don't practice in a polo. I practice in sweats and a t-shirt. But the other night I wore coaches versus cancer pin, and I know how visual all the camera time coaches get, good or bad. So hopefully people see that coaches versus cancer pin that I wear on my left chest to bring attention to it. So.
Got time for one more question. We'll go back to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, I think Kansas lost 6 times last year. My question is, just what are your thoughts on the improvement in Cincinnati big man Victor Locken from this season to last season?
No, yeah, that's a good point. Chris, he's come a long way, hadn't he? He's good. Wes and his staff's done a really good job of using him too. He plays hard. He's got a great motor. He's long. You know, I don't know how tall he is. He's probably 6'10", 6'11", something like that, I'm assuming. But he knows how to play. You know, they get you so spread out, the next thing you know, they're rolling him down the middle. And if you're not very good at the point of attack, those passes become easy to him on the roll. And you can tell his confidence is high. But you know, I don't know him, just see him on the day we play him. But the thing that jumps out to me is how hard he plays. You can tell he's a great teammate. I think he's from the Soviet Union area, so you know he's got hardworking parents. I'm sure he comes from a great background. But I've been impressed with him. He's I'm not sure there's 10 players in this conference that has played better. So he's having an all conference year, and kudos to him for that.
Coach, thank you very much for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Great. See you guys.